Okay, so my name is Bruce Sawyer. We're going to look at a match, it looks like, from the CBJJF's men's medium heavy no-gi event. And you had posted a little bit in here as well about having a good head position, or like things that you struggle with. So I see it there where you have good shoulder pressure forward. Let me try to stop it at a good angle. One thing I want you to think about is, yeah, you're doing a really good job of shoulder pressure there, but think about almost throwing out a jab with your left shoulder, so putting your shoulder down to the mat rather than driving your forward or your shoulder forward, if that makes sense. So like my best case, like, or best way to describing it is like throwing out a jab, the same way that you would like rotate your shoulder forward, you would do that. People tend to push their entire body forward to get that pressure when you should just be pressing your shoulder forward, like you're um, basically throwing out a jab. And I think that would free up a lot of the issue. The whole time, though, you should be looking for that underhook. So still pummeling for that underhook side. And so right here is a good example. Drop your hips back just a little bit, so you're not going to sit, but dropping your hips back, and then pummel in with your hand right in here as soon as you can. The other thing too that's kind of nice is the like a little Leandra low sit. So instead of having your um, head on this side, trying to pummel for that underhook and putting your head on the near side as well. Something to look at. So you're able to come over, almost get to the back. And I think the next thing was that 140 you said. Also on the guillotine here, let's go back just a little bit. So I like doing a one-handed guillotine. So my hand will go, my left hand in this case would go up to my chest, and then you walk it back and try to put your chest on top of their chest rather than trying to bridge and putting your hips into it and lifting up. So you're trying to put your chest down here. So the other hand's on in there, which isn't necessarily bad, but a lot of times I like doing it just one-handed, where I go up and grab my far pec and then put my chest down rather than trying to arch up. And here, you're a little high for the guillotine. I would go just maybe a little bit lower. And especially too, when he starts bringing these arms around, make sure to take advantage of that, right? So you should be getting into almost an S mount position because he's given up that arm, either transitioning to the back or using it as an armbar. Because his hands should be on your hips, not around your body. Okay, so coming up on the time that you want to talk about, the 140 here. Let's see what happens. Yeah. So this situation, you're saying, should you basically, I don't know whether to grab the crossface or do the same sitting move move, or I should focus on using that hand to stuff the leg down. For me, like as soon as somebody starts to re-guard like that, let's go back just a little bit here. I end up having to usually sit completely back, right? So that like my butt would drop, and I would again try to beat the legs. Especially if he's gotten this far, because at this point your butt's up a little bit. If he were to take a hook and go inside, he could get a little bit of an elevation for you, or a possible sweep. So let's see what made it happen in the first place. So one thing here too, you'll see him pushing down on the hips, which is exactly what he should do. When you're here in mount, you've got to strip those off. So since you have this hand here, you should be taking your left hand, stripping this hand off, switching, and bringing your knee up a little bit. so he can't do it again. Switch to the other side, do the same thing that you're doing with your right hand with your left, and then using your right hand to strip this off, because that's what's allowing him to create that space. So here you can kind of, like at this early of a stage, you can kind of like a reverse sit, so your hip would drop down here and your leg could come underneath. You start working a half guard pass again. But once he gets to like right here, now you've, in my opinion, you should be dropping your butt and going. Good job still on the pass though. And you can kind of see it too when you put that shoulder pressure forward, you're a little forward rather than dropping your weight completely down. See where his right chin, like right here, where his chin is, the left side of his chin, or his jaw, I should say, should be pointed that way with your bicep and not necessarily just pushing forward with the chest. Good job on the pass though. I think the next time was 225. Opponent spins, comes up quickly into my weak knee on belly. Can I step over? I tried something like this in the previous match and ended basically in another scramble. Should I just sprawl hard and work to the turtle? It feels like I should be able to do something from this position, but even with an underhook, I often end up on bottom again. All right, let me look. So a lot of this, look where your toes are at. All right, so your toes are on the mat and your body's forward quite a bit. So I'm guessing that a lot of your weight is on his hips, which he can can support pretty easily. Or actually, I should say a lot of the weight's probably on the mat on your toes right here, and then your knee is on his belly, and it's easy to move him, or easy for you to be moved. So my first suggestion would be actually bringing this foot all the way off the mat and around the hip right here. So your heel would be here and your toes would be pointed out this way and your knee going across, and then angling back just a little bit more. So like this foot would be back here in line with the shoulders. Because you'll see him start to scoot, and that's only because, again, look at these, the toes are on the mat, and so there's nothing really blocking this far hip from coming up. Your knee should be all the way over there, not allowing that hip to come up. So that's the biggest thing. You don't necessarily lose, well, yeah, so you drop back. Let me come back here. So if he comes up, one other quick option that you can get is trying to push that head down right away and go for a spinning armbar with that left underhook. But once his hips start coming up, you can also just circle back left. So he starts coming up, circle back left, and go back into side control. But I think if you were to, a lot of bigger guys, and I'm guessing since you're in the medium heavy division, you're not a small guy, but obviously not a huge guy. A lot of guys don't want to put actual weight down in the gym for knee on belly, and you have to get used to it. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of a crappy position sometimes for you. So come up and guard pull. And so it looks like that's the end of the match. Looks like you dominated most of the match. A couple things that you could have changed, but it was a really good match. Hopefully those helped out. I would say the biggest thing is honestly, this is actually a really good example right here. In this position, even we'll say that you're inside and not in mount because it looks like you're in mount from here. But say you're in side control or half guard, whatever. Take these fingers right here, put them in the guy's armpit, and then actually rotate your deltoid or your shoulder forward on his face, right? So you're going to pull back with your fingers to make him rotate that way, and then push your shoulder down. Don't push your entire body forward, just rotate your shoulder like you're trying to ratchet your shoulder forward. I'm trying to think of an idea that you could, an easy way to explain that, but I think you probably get it. Basically grab the fingers underneath your armpit and throw the shoulder forward, not your body. Your center of your chest should never go past the center of his chest. Just rotate your shoulder forward like you're throwing a jab. All right, thank you very much.